So, so I wanted to talk about this particular subject because I know there's been some people that are probably wondering about the date that I've been posting all over the place, and that was 2/14/19, which is today. It is Valentine's Day, but it's also a very important date for me because it was where I made my debut at Theo's Billiards back in 2003 is when I first showed up. Valentine's Day was the date. So I remember um, going into this place for the first time. I actually went to Q's first because at that time I used to go to a place called Q's back in the day. Q's used to be known as Buckets a long time ago, and then they turned it into Q's back in I think it was probably 1999 or probably 2000 when they showed it. And that was instantly my bar. You know, I loved coming to that place and everything. Then things were starting to change and things were starting to get a little crazy over at Q's, and then I started to come to Theo's for the first time. The odd part about the story is, I even though I made my debut back in 2003, even though Valentine's Day was the site where it all started, I actually showed up, and this has never been revealed at all. This is actually the first time that's actually being revealed on this episode. So you know, if everyone's listening, you're gonna find this a little bit shocking. I had mentioned that a long time ago that there was this girl named Brandy who's probably listening as well. She was the one responsible for me showing up there because a long time ago she used to work over at Q's. And then you know there was some stuff that I found out, and there was stuff that she told me and everything, and she was going to be working over at Theo's. So that's when I showed up, and she was the one responsible for me being there in the first place on Valentine's Day. And at that time, I went ahead and you know I got her, and she remembers this quite well. I got her a bag, and I got her like this. A bag with a Stitch doll, a car, and I think flowers and a couple of other things because she's a huge fan of Lilo and Stitch, right? And I remember seeing this Stitch doll over there, and I just wanted to give it to her because it's Valentine's Day, and I wanted to, you know, do something special for her. So she was the one that basically brought me into Theo's at that time. She was the one that brought me in. But however, there's one part to the story that I've never mentioned, and I'm hoping that my best friend, one of my best friends, is listening to this episode because prior to when I showed up at Theo's before the debut, I remember going into the doors of Theo's for the first time. I think it was 1 month before the actual debut took place. My best friend, Mark Anthony Pantoja, some of you know him, or I call him Antoir a whole lot. I remember him taking me over to this bar, and I wasn't sure why we were going. I think we were just there just to drink and have ourselves a good time and stuff. But when I got there, it was a really cool place to be at. It was very clean. It was very nice. Some of the people there were pretty awesome to talk to and everything, and it was just a tremendous place to be there. So even though Brandy was the one that brought me into the place in the first place, it was Antoine who brought me to the place before I even made my debut, before I even made the decision to go ahead and go into this bar. So Antoine had a lot to do with it. I don't think he remembers it. He probably does or he probably doesn't, but he does have a huge role in there and a whole lot. So I guess ever since the debut, I've met several people, several great bartenders, several great waitresses, several hot waitresses, I might add, that I will bring up on this episode. And while I was still trying to establish Theo's, I was still going to Q's at the time. Now, the reason for that is it's not like I had any problems with Theo's. It's just that it's one of those things where it's like a new wrestling promotion. You're trying to get into it, and you're not fully into it just yet because you're still with the established organization that you like. And that's what Theo's was. I mean, because I was still going to queues and everything, and I still remember the last time when I walked into queues a long time ago, and it was a there was an event that took place there. This big show that happened that featured my friends Free State, and at that time, Free State combined of my good friend Homestar Runner, aka Hector Juarez, Rene Hernandez, and Saul. They were the three-piece band of Free State. Two other bands that played over there as well, and the crowd that night was awesome. It was around September when they played, and it was an awesome show to be at. And at that time, that was not only the last show that would happen over at Theo's. It would at Q's. I'm sorry. It would also be the last time I would even show up at Q because I remember I stopped going to Q's around September, and then I started hearing a lot of rumors, a lot of stuff, a lot of speculation that's been going on. And then I remember I walked over. I actually got out of work a little early at the time on a Thursday. I picked up my friend Roman, and we were on our way over to um, Q's. This was around November, and at that time, I was hearing stuff about 6 Feet Under heading to Sharky's, and this was in 2003, and I was headed towards Theo's. And while the establishment looked clean, while the establishment looked good, and while it was great to look at, it was dead. Q's was dead. It wasn't even the same bar. It didn't feel right. Something pretty much killed it. So me and Roman were just there. We had a beer and we were basically there in an empty bar surrounded by absolutely nothing. And it was just very bad. And all I kept thinking about was wanting to go to Theo's. I wanted to go there. I didn't want to go anywhere else. So I remember this one song that kept coming up over and over again, and it was kind of appropriate for the song to appear, especially the way Q's has been the last few times. And the song, I don't know who sang it, but there's a song that you kept hearing over and over again. It was like, it's all over now, like that. And when I kept hearing it, it was just, it was basically like a goodbye to Q's because the place had died. It was finished. Even though it looked clean, even though it looked established, it looked great. It lost its audience. It's lost its customers, and I don't know if it was going to be big since then. Q's pretty much was done, and then it sort of came back. Actually, it turned into a gay bar. Then it came right back, and then it was just done after that. So after that, I put my entire life on Theo's, and I put my entire heart and soul to this place because I felt it had all the potential in the world to be a great bar. This bar was just as good as Q's. It was probably better because it had a better crowd, it had a better establishment, um, better management, I might add, better management. And ever since then, I've met a lot of great people. I've met a lot of great bartenders. I've met a lot of individuals, especially the waitresses, because there were some hot-looking waitresses, and I'm not gonna lie, there were several that caught the main event's eye in every way possible. And there were a couple that I'll probably talk about the waitresses in a moment, but the place itself, some of the people that used to work there, I remember Houston. Houston was a bartender over there, and he was not only a guy that worked over at Theo's, he also worked with me at the Gun Club years ago. Houston was a cool guy to be around. He knew Nevada, and he knew a few other people that worked at the gun club. And then I remember when I walked into that place, he was a person that I remember quite well because I saw him. He was a cool guy. We drank a couple of beers together, and seen what he does. And it was good seeing him. I remember him. I remember Brian Sherman. Brian Sherman is, he knows this quite well if he ever listens to this. He is the Jason Witten of Theo's. And he does look a little bit like Jason Witten of the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, he looks almost like him. Just put a 82 jersey on him. It's like he's on his way. There he is, dude. Check it out, dude. It's Jason fucking Witten at the bar, dude. I liked Brian Sherman a whole lot, and also Eric Wendell. Eric Wendell was also another individual that I like quite well. He looked like, and I think I told this to him a long time ago. He reminds me, any of the wrestling fans that know me quite well, he reminds me of Johnny Impact or John Morrison or any of those characters because he just had that surfer guy look, and that's what Eric Wendell had. I looked at him. He was a cool guy to be around. He looked like John Morrison, and at that time, I was just like, wow. You look at him, it's like, holy crap, there he is, dude. It's John Morrison behind the bar, dude. And he was a great bartender. He'd worked there for a while and everything. He was very, very another cool person I like talking to and everything. And it was so cool being at that bar. And Richard. I don't think I've met Richard at the time until I think it was 2006 or 2005 when he got the bar. I could be wrong. I may be wrong, but Richard was he played a very interesting role in Theo's. I don't think anybody understands what this dude has done with the bar, and he did a tremendous job with it. I was glad when he first got the bar and everything, and I was also glad that he was the one that got Jameson's years ago. He used to be the Safari a long, long time ago, and then he turned it into Jameson's, of course. Jameson was the bar, and then all of a sudden he turned it into Bone Shakers. And let me also say for the record, right here, I love Bone Shakers. This was basically the bar that, and I've said this many times before, the bar that takes you back, and it does, because you go there. It's a very established bar. It was a good bar. I wish it would have stayed a little bit while longer, but there were some criticisms and there were some stuff that I heard, and some of it I didn't agree with, and others, well, I can kind of understand what they're talking about, but that's going to be a case for another time. But Richard, he played a major role in Theo's. After all, he was the guy that pretty much brought it back because Theo's had died a slow death itself around December 16th of 2009. I don't think he was there when it passed on. But, and this is something I think, once again, if you haven't heard it, or if you know about it, this is one of these things that people are going to know about for a while. December 16th, 2009 was when Theo's was dead. But I had this feeling it was coming back. I wasn't sure when it was coming back. I know that another good friend of mine, Roxanne, someone that Richard knows quite well, and someone that Hector knows quite well, had told me on a few occasions that, and I had this feeling that it was. But there's this one part that I don't think anybody knows about. But Theo's had closed down around 12 at midnight on the last day. And me and several of the regulars that were there were there. We're drinking beer. We're shooting pool on the last night. It was very cool being there with all of the close friends that we had from Roxanne being there. To I think Rachel was there. I could be wrong. I know Lawrence was there. Lawrence, also another great bartender, and also a very old school friend of mine that I've known for years. I've known him, and I've known his brother JJ for many, many years. Good seeing him. Dennis Chapa, one of my favorites, one of my Dallas Cowboy favorites, right there. And it was good being there. Had our last few beers together, and we said goodbye to Theo's, and it was the end. And while everybody left, I remember just drinking at home, driving around a little bit, and then I went ahead and decided to come by. And I came by, I looked at Theo's, I looked at the bar, and it was a crazy thing to look at because when I look at this bar, to a lot of people, a bar is just a bar to any other person. But to me, there was something very, very special about it. I still remember just looking at it and looking at that Theo sign, and I did cry. And it wasn't because I lost the bar. It was because there was so many great memories that came with this bar. Because the funny thing was, it had to land on the 16th of December. Because 2009, December 16th, was when it died. But one thing that a lot of people don't know is 2 years prior to when Theo's died, I lost a best friend 2 years ago. And that was my longtime best friend, Adam Medina Ramos, Roman's brother. And there's a story that I will mention about him in a moment. But that time. It was done. It was over. But something in my heart was telling me it ain't over. It can't end like this. I mean, Theo's is just too good. And the way Theo's came out was all completely crazy. So several months go by, and I started hearing a lot of stuff about Theo's coming back, and I wasn't sure when. And then I found out from a very reliable source that Theo's was coming back, and it was. Theo's had came back probably around, I'm going to say June or maybe July, depending. I didn't get a chance to go there, but I did mention that I would make my return, and I did. I showed up around maybe the 4th of July, and when I walked in for the first time, it was beautiful. It was pretty much the same, but it was up to date. It was more better. Pretty much had some of the same bartenders, and it just looked tremendous. It looked great. And when I found out that there was going to be a show on the 16th of July, that's when the moment would come in, because July 16th is, well, obviously it's, I call it Main Event Mondo Day. And the reason why I call it, well, actually, from here on out, it's now known as Main Event Mondo Michelle Day. And the reason why it's called that is because my birthday, Mondo's birthday, and it's also Michelle's birthday. Michelle, who is a very close friend, who's also the, I'm going to say wife or girlfriend of Marcos Leal of Shattered Sun, which I'm also going to mention him in just a moment. But yeah, um, it was the beginning. July 16th was the beginning of having a lot of badass shows take place, and it was so cool being there to check out the show. And the first show that happened was the legendary Periwinkle Massacre, and it was I've been around my friends at Periwinkle Massacre for a long, long time. Of course, you know him as Hector Juarez had played in there. The best drummer on the planet, John Luna, he played on there. Mondo was on there on the keyboard. I believe Matt Gongora was on it, and of course Jeff Hardy was there. Well, not Jeff Hardy, but you know him quite well as. Oh my God, I keep forgetting his name. I know who his name is, but he keeps changing his name on Facebook every single time. Smitty, I think that's who it is. But yeah, it was so cool being there. It was on my birthday. I still remember being on that stage, basically with a microphone in my hand and saying what I wanted to say. And the only thing that would have made it a whole lot better is if the birthday boy would have just come right next to the main event. But man, it just didn't come out the way it goes. So yeah, it was very cool to have the Periwinkle Massacre played at Theo's. It was very historic. It was a tremendous crowd. Everybody was over there that I know of. There was one thing that I wanted to mention on this episode. I know that there were several friends that were over there. I know Kim Cadenas was there. I think Mark Garcia was there. There were several that I know. The one person that comes to mind the most, and I don't think she's gonna hear this. I actually want her to hear this, but I think this is one of these moments where, I have the picture in my Facebook somewhere. There was this one woman that caught the main event's eye a whole lot, and she was there at the show, and I was very, very surprised to see her at the show. And that would be Erlinda Vargas. Erlinda Vargas is another close friend of mine, someone that I've known for a long, long time, knows me, knows Stephanie, knows Mark Anthony Pantoja, knows Deborah, and everybody else involved. If you're listening to this, Erlinda, what's going on? How's everything going? Um, she comes out, and it was very, very cool seeing her because I think I remember leaving her a message on Facebook. I was just getting into Facebook in 2010 at the time because I wasn't into Facebook at the time because I never got one. I pretty much got my own MySpace from 2010, and then I started getting into Facebook and Twitter and all that other stuff. But I remember messaging her and telling her that, hey, I'm going to be over at Theo's, and if you're invited, if you want to show up, go for it. So she shows up. She was there, and and I wanted to say this because it's true. Um, she was, and I admit this, she was the most beautiful woman in the room at the time, and I couldn't stop staring at her. I, you know how there's all these beautiful women that are around you, and you're just like, wow, they're amazing. But there's that one woman that sticks out, and just says, holy shit, that's the one. I admit on this show, I admit this right here. I did have a crush on her, Linda, years ago, and then seeing her that moment, it was like I had a crush on her all over again, you know. And she looked beautiful. She looked gorgeous. It's like she was the only woman in the room that I wanted. I didn't want any other woman touching the main event. I kept saying over and over again, "That's gonna be mine." And it was cool being around. There was a pic of her and me at Theo's, and and it was I think there was a photographer that was there that gave me the picture, and I put it on my Facebook, and I displayed it, and I tagged her in it, and I think, and it's still there to this day. And it was one of those moments that I was so happy to not only be there for the show, for not only be there for the Periwinkle Massacre's debut, but to see Erlinda over there, and it was just one of those moments that I couldn't stop thinking about. She was the most beautiful woman in the room, as far as I was concerned. And I know that there's probably a few other women that are probably saying to themselves, "What the fuck? I mean, why? What the fuck is so special about Erlinda?" There's more to the story, and there's a couple of other people that I find very special. Okay, but I'll bring it up in a moment. The show, not just the Periwinkle Massacre being over there, but there were several great metal bands that have played at Theo's Billiards. Several that I had the privilege and the honor to be around. So I remember my good friends Adema were over there, including a good friend of mine, Chris Cole, who was there, and it was so cool being around some of the original members over there at Theo's. I only wish that the singer would have been there, one of the original singers to be there because it would have been so tremendous to see the original lineup play over at Theo's, and it was such a great show. And I love listening to Adema. I love listening to some of the songs and some of the albums that they had a long time ago. And I was just so glad to meet all the members. Uh, Chris was one of my closest friends still, because not only was he uh, one of my favorite drummers, but he's also I believe he's a wrestling fan, and he's also an MMA fan, and he's also got his own music going. as opposed with Dima and everything. And Chris, if you're listening to this as well, I hope you're doing very very well, man. And I hope we see you at Corpus in the near future, and hope we see you again. It was cool. It was cool now seeing Adema play over there. Taproot had played over there as well, and I was glad to see them. Norma Jean had played over at Theo's. Our good friends Killamora, they have played many times over at Theo's as well. And of course, who can forget I think who was it that played over there? There were several bands. Saliva. Saliva had played over there. I wasn't there when that happened, but I know Saliva had played over at Theo's. I know that there have been several bands like Leorica. Leoric was there. They played over there. Texas Hate Machine. Texas Hate Machine had played over there at Theo's as well. Also, the labeling theory. We cannot leave out the labeling theory for any reason whatsoever. Of course, the Serpents and Saviors, they played over there as well. The Parawaco Massacre's last show, it was March 17th, 2012. I should know because I have that video somewhere in YouTube for everyone to watch. Uh, Several great bands, several awesome, including Shattered Sun, and we cannot forget those guys because Shattered Sun had played over at Theo's many, many times before, of course. It was so tremendous to not only see Shattered Sun play over there. I believe, and just to bring this up, and I know Antoine's not going to like this, but also his band. Um, I forgot what his band was. I'm sorry. I apologize for not remembering Antoine's other band. Well, you know about the story about that, and I don't want to get into it, but I think Antoine has an idea of what I was talking about. Um, I know Monty Montana was over at Theo's many times. He has supported Theo's over the years, and he's also supported Shattered Sun as well. And it was good to see Monty Montana. One of my favorite all-time DJs is CM101. I love listening to him around 10 a.m. in the morning, all the way down to 2 o'clock. I love that he puts out all this radio. I think he has advertised Theo's many times before, and I'm really really glad for that as well. Um, the thing I mentioned Shattered Sun earlier. Shattered Sun has really been up. They have done so well over the years, and I'm really really happy for Marcos. I'm really really happy for the band. They have released 2 albums with Victory Records, and they have pretty much shown a lot of Corpus love, a lot of love for metal in every way possible. And I know there have been a couple of occasions where they think about Theos, and obviously, you can't forget where you came from, and that's where this comes in. I still remember when I think it was Marcos who said it best when he said that they're never going to live up to what the Parawaco Massacre has done. And to me, I mean, Shattered Sun has pretty much, stepped over the boundaries of what the Parawaco Massacre has done. Because they've played over at Concrete Street before. Not the Shattered Sun, but the Parawaco Massacre. They've played at Theo's. They've played many places before. And now Shattered Sun has broken glass ceilings and have done everything they could. They've not only appeared in Theo's, not only appeared in Concrete Street and House of Rock and everything, they've appeared all over the place. And they are right now one of the hottest bands going in all of metal right now. And also with him, Marcos, being a part of El Nino, it is so cool that he's a part of that band. Because I know he was influenced by that band. A lot of people, a lot of great musicians I know, especially here in Corpus, were definitely influenced by by El Nino. I'm sorry. El Nino's a great band. I love how El Nino is. I kind of like the old El Nino, just to be honest. From the first album all the way down to, I think it was One Nation Underground. That was my favorite. And when I heard, I think it was called Sangre. I think that's what the song was. When I heard it, and I said this was the best that I've heard El Nino in a long, long time. And for Marcos to be a part of it is very historic. I'm very proud of him. I'm glad for him. And even though there's some controversy going around, and everybody knows what it is, I'm still happy for him, and I'm glad that Shattered Sun is in the position that they're in, and I'm so glad for Marcos for the position that he's in. And believe it or not, Shattered Sun is a major part of Theo's, not just the Periwinkle Massacre, not just of Serpents of Saviors and everything. And the one thing that I will also bring up, and even though this band had never played at Theo's, I still have a pic of it at my house, or actually a pic of it on my Facebook. There was one legendary band that was there at Theo's, but they didn't play. And it was beautiful to see these four men over there. These four men that basically, in all honesty, they pretty much put metal on the map as far as Corpus goes. I mean, their name is still synonymous. Their name is all over the place still, as far as I'm concerned. I'm talking about my longtime best friend Hector Juarez, another longtime friend of mine, Rene Hernandez, Saul Hernandez, and Jesse Leyva. I'm talking about the legendary Abrasion. They were there at Theo's Billiards, and that was also another special moment that will always stay with me for a long time. I still remember having a pic of all four for the guys. They were there hanging out, talking, drinking, and it was just this cool moment. Listening and talking with these guys, and it would be awesome to see these guys play on stage. And I've seen them play on stage many times before, and Abrasion is our version of Slayer, and they are unquestionably the greatest band that ever came out of Corpus. And whether anybody likes it or not, one day that band will get back together. One day it'll come all together, and they will all get a chance to know what Abrasion was about and what Abrasion is. And there's a reason why I call Hector the greatest musician of all time. It's not because of Abrasion. It was because of bands like Screwface, because of the second, the first, and the third coming of Free State, the Periwinkle Massacre, Day Never Came, and of course the band he's in right now, Mythmaker. And that's another band that one day I hope if it ever comes back, if we ever bring the stage back to Theo's, I guarantee you that band will blow the roof off that place. That's all I can say about that. There were so many great bands that have played at Theo's. There were so many great bands that I've met, that I've drank with, that I've had the honor and privilege to be around, and it was just so cool. And that was one of the things I miss most about Theo's, because of that era, because of that era of music. And will we ever get it back? Who knows? And it was so cool. And uh, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring this up because I got to. I had talked about Erlinda earlier. I had talked about her because she was the eye candy for the main event. She was the beautiful woman in the room. But there were others that had the main event's eye, and also some that were good friends with me over the years. Um, Roxanne, I call her Lita because she looks like Lita in my view. She looks she's someone that knows Hector. Very long story. Don't want to bring up the whole story about that. But Roxanne was a very good friend of mine. Known her for years. Like drinking with her. Like talking with her. She was a very very cool friend of mine. And she also knows, and there's a time that I don't think I want to mention it, but I have to because it's one of those things where I feel like I should get it out anyway. There was a crush I did have, and Roxanne knows who it is, and I think there's a few other people that knows who it is. That person would be her sister, Rachel. Now I will admit that I did have a crush on her years ago. I had a thing for Rachel, and I think Richard knows that I have a thing for Rachel and everything. As a matter of fact, I think it was Richard who said. I think he was the one that wanted to make the wedding arrangements. Should me and Rachel get married? And I admit that I've had a thing for her for a long time, and there were times where I wish I could have told her. I really wish I could have. But we were growing up, we were maturing, we were doing things. She had her thing and I had mine, and I had decided to put it to rest. I think I put it to rest back in 2013 or 14, I think. And I just said it's okay. I mean, I'd rather be Rachel's friend than be than pursue her. But and I'm apologizing for mentioning this on my show, but at the process, this is the 16th anniversary of my debut, and I'm just giving everyone an idea of why Theos is so important to me and why I love this bar so much. But I'm gonna get to that part in a mere moment. Besides Rachel, there's more. Oh my God, there's more. There's several. There were several gorgeous women. Several. A list of people that a list of beautiful women that have worked over there. There was one in particular. One person in particular. Someone that is a. I can't say she's a close friend, but she's also someone that I've digged, but I've never really had like a crush on her. But she was also like this. She was a cute girl. She had been a waitress for a long time. I kind of showed her the ropes about some of the things that happened at Theo's, and I have often gotten upset at Theo's because one minute she's there, the next minute she's gone. One minute she's there, next minute she's gone, or the whole 9 yards. That person would be Jasmine Ortiz. Jasmine is another close friend and someone that I've cared about for a while, and she reminds me of Paige. Now, if anybody knows who Paige is, you know her. You know Paige quite well as the Norwegian, the one that played. I'm sorry, the why in the world am I thinking something else here? Paige is the former WWE Divas champion. She was also one of the pioneers of WWE, and she looks beautiful and attractive in the whole 9 yards. Jazz kind of looks like her, the look and the hair and everything. I know that she doesn't have a Facebook. I know she has an Instagram. I know that, and she looks tremendous. She looks great, and she still looks like Paige in my view. And she was also someone very important to me because she's one of the reasons why I come back to Theo's in the first place. And I have not seen her in a time, and I hope one day I get a chance to see her and talk to her again, see how she's doing, and see how everyone else is doing. And I'm gonna say there's probably one. Well, then again, the list of women, and I'll tell you this: the list of women I know, I probably haven't seen in a long, long time, and they probably don't even know that I'm putting this on. What fine, I'm putting it on. I don't know, but yeah, Theo's has had a lot of beautiful waitresses, a lot of great people that work there, and even though there's some that work there now that I've seen a couple times and everything, and I'll say this because I can, and this is the truth. The waitresses that you see now may look beautiful, some may be okay, but they will never match the waitresses that I know. I mean that is the God honest truth right there. Because some of the waitresses I know worked harder, earned their money, did everything they could to pretty much please Theo's in every way possible, and did the best job they could. Whether it was in or outside of Theo's. That's the truth. That's the truth coming from me. And we're already reaching the conclusion here, so I know some people have probably wondered. I know there's several friends of mine that probably wonder. We're on the 16th anniversary of my debut, and everyone's probably wondering that question. Um, what's so important? I mean, why is my debut so important? Why has this become something special? I mentioned I mentioned on this episode death. I mentioned Theo's had died in 2016, 2000. I'm sorry, 2009 of December 16th, and 2 years prior to that, I lost a best friend. My best friend, Adam Ramos. Well, here's the story that I don't think that that I'm going to mention, and it'll probably be maybe the only time I'll ever mention this story. About 2 months, or actually, yeah, about 2 months, right around October, me and Adam were at Theo's. This is around 2007. We had spoke at the not at the bar, but at a table somewhere. Just drinking a couple of beers and just thinking about a lot of things. And I still remember when me and Adam had talked. We talked about a lot of things, music and all that other stuff. But then we brought up his son. And at that time, I was around another close friend, someone that he knows and someone that I know quite well, and that would be Stephanie. Long story on that. And I was around her a whole lot, and there used to be a time where me and Adam would we go to Theo's a lot. We sometimes go during the day, and sometimes we go during the night, and sometimes around the daytime, especially. You know, uh, when we talked about his son. We talked about his son, and his birthday was coming up, and something about me being there for him because I hadn't been around much, and it was true. I wasn't really there to be around him that much because of the time when I was spending with someone else. And I promised him that I would be there for his son, and I do. I want to be there for his son, and I want to be there to watch him grow everything. And this was around October of 2007, and and this is the first time you're hearing this. That was the last time. That was the last time I spoke to him before before he passed away in December 16th of 2007. There were a lot of great memories in my life at that bar. Several memories that involved several of my best friends from Hector Juarez to Mark Anthony Pantoja to Stephanie Gonzalez to my closest friend Roman Ramos. I've had several great memories when it came to the shows, when it came to the drinking days, when it came to going over to the bar, to going over to shoot pool. I still remember me, Adam, and Roman heading over to go shoot pool around the afternoon time. And this was one funny moment. I think I always remember this. We're over here just shooting pool, just me and Adam and Roman, right? They were shooting. They were playing against each other. Adam did something very very bad, and it's still the funniest moment we've ever seen. So Adam is fixing to hit the white ball, right? He goes ahead and He's gonna hit the white ball. He's gonna hit the I think it was the 8 ball or something like that. I think he hit the 8 ball, but what he did was he sort of jump shot the white ball, right? He jumps it, and it bounces from one table to the other, and it hits another 8 ball on the other table, and it hit the corner pocket. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And Adam couldn't believe he was doing that shot, and I told him, dude, what the fuck is this? Super Mario Brothers? Jump from one fucking tunnel to the other. What the fuck is wrong with you? And I told him, my God, we must not be having enough beer. We're gonna have like a couple of other big ass beers, please. It was still the funniest moment I've ever seen, and it was just something I think about almost every day. Theo's has always been a special place. It isn't just some bar. To everyone else, it's a bar. To everyone else, it's just a tavern. To everyone else, it's a saloon. It's just a place you go in, you drink, you leave. That's it. Others want to come to Theo's because they want a free drink. Or they want to get a free shot. Or whatever. That's why they're there. Me, I'm not here. I'm not about that. If I get a free shot, okay, cool. But as long as I pay for the next beer, that's fine. You give me a shot, that's fine. As long as I pay for the next shot, that's fine. You want to shoot pool? Fuck yeah, let's go shoot pool. Let's have a good time. Let's do what we can. And the jukebox. The jukebox has always been my source for motivation. That's true. My source for motivation, because for the past several years, that jukebox that everyone has seen, every time I look at the jukebox, every time I look at that box, I look at it and I say to myself, is there anybody that's going to go to that jukebox and put whatever they want? Yeah, you can go ahead and put country on, I'll dig it, but then it'll piss me off because I've heard that song over and over and over again. And with all due respect to Metallica's Enter Sandman, I've heard it a dozen times. And with all due respect to Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine, been there, done that, let's move on, please. So, I go ahead, and when I go to that jukebox, I remember years ago when I first saw it, and I said to myself, my God, this is a badass jukebox. You got all these other bands over here, wait a minute, I can download this? I check, I download, wait a minute, I'm looking, wait a minute. There's Megadeth's Peace Sells, but who's buying it? Oh, wait a minute. Slayer's Raining Blood, my fucking God. Oh, wait a second. Anthrax Among the Living? Oh, wait a fucking... Deicide? Once Upon a Cross? Obituary? The End Complete? There were so many badass songs that I put on there. My favorite of all time, and Hector knows this quite well, Homestar Runner knows this quite well, Chimera's Down Again, from the Impossibility of Reason album. The greatest album that Chimera has ever done. Our song, I might add. Our song, me and Hector's, that's our song, that's our shit. Anybody has a problem with it, they can kiss our fucking asses. I go in there, I go ahead and play some Machine Head, or I play some Fear Factory, or I go ahead and play some Testament. I go ahead and play all these badass bands that go on. It's like, holy fucking shit. There was a time, I always put $20 in the jukebox. That's the truth. I've always put $20 inside the fucking jukebox every chance I got. I didn't do it every day. I just did it when I did it. I got this much money. Hey, so I get $20. Boom! It goes right in. There was this time around, I think it was 2006, right around New Year's Eve. I went ahead and I went to that jukebox and I put over, are you ready for this? This is the truth, whether anybody likes it or not. I put well over $40 worth of music. I'm not fucking kidding. I put $40 worth of music in that jukebox. Why? Because I don't want to hear the same fucking crap over and over again. And it's okay to listen to the same country song once or twice. But if you heard it like 25 million times, oh my fucking God, can we change the channel, please? But the good thing is, I don't go ahead and just continue to put metal music every time. Sometimes you have to think of the ladies. You have to think of the women. You have to think of them because you don't want to drive them away. No, 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 no. You want to drive them away. You want to go ahead and just put on something nice, like maybe Florida Georgia Line, or maybe Usher, maybe a little bit of, I would say Maroon 5, something like that. Something that will get them going. But just give them a little. Don't give them a whole lot because it'll be spoiling somebody. You just got to give them what they want for a while. Give Theo's the business, give them the music, give them the time, let them go over, listen to jukebox a little bit, and they'll be fine. But there's also a brilliant thing that goes along with the jukebox. And you want to know what it is? I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. It's the fact that when I go to that jukebox and I go ahead and put a certain amount of money, others will go in and block me. And all I say is, you know what? You go ahead and block me. You go ahead and do whatever you want. You go ahead and put in the 1, put in the 2, put in the 5, put in the 20. Hey, I will be fully responsible for giving Theo's more money. You know why? Because while the main event puts $20 in the jukebox, people will put $2, $3, $4, even $20, even go as far as maybe $25. And I will be giving Theo's more money in that jukebox than you can possibly imagine. So I need a certain amount of business that Theo's gets. It's called smart advertising. It's like this. I know some people are probably thinking, oh, well, you're stupid putting money in. Why don't you just let them go ahead and do it? Let me tell you something. How do you piss people off at a bar besides throwing a fucking bottle at their head or, getting drunk and yelling off their ass? How do you piss them off? Put on something that they've already heard. And even though I've heard it and I've done it, but I'm the one changing the music. But I'm the one pissing people off by throwing all this badass metal on there. And they'll be like, no fucking way. We don't want to hear this shit. Let's put this on. Let's put this on. Let's put this on. So while they go ahead and put this song on, and put this song on, and then put this song on, I'll be back in the bar just drinking. Badass. This song sucks, but I don't care. If they put a badass music on, hey, I didn't put this song on, but you know what? This is fucking the shit right here. It's something you'll never hear in the fucking radio ever again. So I'll have myself a shot of a Michelob Ultra, or drink of a Michelob Ultra, and a shot of a Jaeger, and a shot of a Fireball, and all is fucking good. So the only thing that I'll tell you, besides the jukebox, besides the friends, besides everyone that has been a part of Theo's, 16 years, since my debut, February 14th of 2003, I have been a part of several memorable shows. I've been a part of several great moments, along with all of my good friends, everyone that has been there at Theo's, from the likes of my friends, my longtime best friend, Homestar Runner, Hector Juarez, to my other longtime best friend, Mark Anthony Pantoja, to Joseph Zadich, to Stephanie Gonzalez, to Samantha Valdez, to Roman Ramos, to my greatest best friend of all time, Adam Ramos, to people like John Luna, the best drummer on the planet, to Saul, to Renee, to Richard, to Roxanne, to Rachel, to Chris, to Brian Sherman, to Eric Wendell, to Bruce Almighty, to Jeremy, to the door guy, Tyson, to Richard, to Aaron, another person in mind, Adon, or I know him, Adon Pena, who I also know him quite well as the A-Train. That's who I call him. The A-Train. That's who I call him. And there have been several people over the years that have come to Theo's, that have drank with the main event, that have had themselves a good time. And the only thing I can tell you right here, right now, Theo's isn't just some fucking bar. It's the main event's house. Everyone knows that AJ Styles has always said that SmackDown is the house that AJ Styles built. Well, Theo's is the house that the main event built. It has been my home. I was there when my debut started. I was there when it died. I was there when it made its return. And ever since then, Theo's has gone through a crazy evolution. an evolution that's still going on to this day. And even though pretty much Theo's is pretty much like a gambling casino, it's still going on. And it doesn't matter who runs the show. It doesn't matter if people decide that they're going to be the ones to run the show and make it look good. As long as someone like me comes along and shows up at Theo's every chance he gets, everything else doesn't matter. You want to know why? Because while there are people that'll just show up over there just to want and think they run the show, I'm the guy that comes in, pays for my beer, pays for my shot, pays for whatever the jukebox has, and then I leave and then I say I'll see you the next time. That's who I am. If I get a free shot, fine. If I don't get a free shot, it's fine. I ain't bitching. As long as I have myself a good time, as long as everyone else is having a good time, and as long as everyone understands. Theo's is not just a bar. It's a place to have fun. It's a place to raise hell. It's a place to create chaos. And it's also a place to create new memories. I've had a lot of great memories with a lot of great friends. Some that I'm glad are still with me, and others I wish were still here with me today. And now, on its 16th anniversary, the 16th anniversary of the main event's debut, the 16th anniversary of Furman walking into Theo's. Theo's will always be my bar. It will always be special to me. And it don't matter what anyone thinks. Theo's is my bar. Theo's is my spot. And when you think of Theo's, when you think of the music, you think of the shots of Jaeger, you think of the fireballs, you think of the historic moments that happened there. I was there when all that took place. Oh yeah, I was there for all of that and more. And I will still be there for that and more. And for the other people that are going to say, oh, well, Furman's just saying, the only reason why Furman is saying that it's his home is because most alcoholics these days want to go ahead and say that the bar is their home because they want the smell of alcohol in their breath, or they just want a taste of liquor in their mouth. You know what I want a taste of? I want a taste of a fucking sandwich from fucking Theo's, okay? If you ignorant fucks, especially some of you that think that I just call it my home because I'm some sort of an alcoholic, let me remind you of something. I don't go ahead and drink every fucking day like all these other people do. I drink when I want, when I want. Not because some people allow me to, it's because I want to. So all of you straight fucks, all of you stupid, ignorant morons, they're going to look at me as some ridiculous alcoholic because I make it my home. I make Theo's my home because of the memories, because of the people, and because of the atmosphere. And that's what it's all about. You can have any other bar you want to. You can have Murdoch's. You can have, any other bar, whatever bar is out there. Most of those bars you see these days are no longer around. And while a bar like Theo's continues, it's still around to this day. And the cool thing about this bar is it died and it came back. Other bars have died, and are they coming back? No, because it'll never happen. But Theo's will always be around. And the main event, Furman Taurus, would like to tell Theo's, thank you for all the memories. Thank you to everything. And if the main event had a shot glass or a beer in his hand right now, I'll probably say this to Richard, to Roxanne, to Antoine, to Hector, to even my best friend Adam, to all of you. Thank you for all the memories. Thank you for being a part of my life. Thank you for being a part of Theo's history. And no doubt, there's probably be more historic Theo's moments after this. And I'll still be around. I'll still be around Theo's. And there will be nobody. You have your regulars, and then you have me. I consider myself regular icon at Theo's. Because while others can say they've been to this bar, they've been to that bar, Theo's is my bar. You can come in and you can come out. But that's all you're going to be doing. I'm just going to be here for the rest of my fucking life. And there's not a damn thing anybody can do about it. So to Theo's, thank you. And to everyone else that has been a part of this, thank you as well. Because you guys played a major role in Theo's as well, whether you know it or not. So if I had a shot glass, if I had a beer right now, this is the 16 years of Theo's. My debut when I walked in. Thank you, Theo's. Thank you, everyone. And all I can say is, I don't often say it, but I'll say it right here, right now. Why? Because I can, and I want to. Any questions? Enough said. Theo's, thank you, and happy Valentine's Day